Welcome to Tom Girl, where we talk all things sports, entertainment, fashion, and adventure. About a month ago, Rachel Griffin completed her incredible solo swim of the English Channel and achieved the illustrious Triple Crown of open water swimming. A marathon swimmer, triathlete, and co-founder of PlayWise, an integrated communication agency with a mission to build great brands and inspire playful lifestyles for all ages. She is doing just that, inspiring us all. Welcome to the show, Rachel.
Hi, thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Oh, thank you for the time. I'm so excited to talk to you about all the incredible accomplishments you have. But
You made me sound really good.
no, I didn't even make that. You are really good. Well, if you don't mind, let's just start off with the doozy right away. I mean, it was just about a month ago that you finished the English Channel swim. Tell me about that.
Yeah, it was absolutely a miraculous day, to be fair, because I have been training now for a little over 2.5 years for it, because I was originally slated to swim it last summer, July of 2024 into August. I was originally slated to swim it last August into September, and the weather was so rough that no boats would go out. And so I waited for an extra tide for an opportunity to go on somebody else's, because my window had come and gone. And my whole family was there. I had my brothers, my sisters, cousins, friends, all on the shores waiting for me to go. And the window closed. I waited for another 4 days to go. And the window closed again because the weather was too bad and we couldn't go. So I got on the plane and came home and, had to wait and try again. And thankfully, the stars aligned, because in November of last year, so to preface this before this, I do all of my adventures to raise money for charity. And I had started my swimming career raising money for pancreatic cancer in honor of my mom. So for this, November is Pancreatic Cancer Awareness Month. And so from the donations I received last year, which was roughly $60,000 to $65,000, in November, I decided, since it was Pancreatic Cancer Awareness Month, I was going to donate the GoFundMe money directly to the 3 charities that I partner with, which is Memorial Sloan Kettering out of New York City, who took care of my mom and my dad, and then the Hirschberg Foundation and Pancreatic Cancer Action Network, which is here in Los Angeles. So those are 3 foundations that are so spectacular with all things pancreatic cancer, amongst other cancers as well. And so Pancreatic Cancer Awareness Month, I donated the money from the attempt number 1, which was great. And then the next day in the mail, the girl who happened to be able to go out that year, last year, sent me a t-shirt that said, English Channel 2025, like put the juju out there that it was going to happen for me next year. And then the next day I woke up to an email from my boat captain saying that I was going to be slot 1 in July, last week of July, first week of August, which was my dream slot because of the weather conditions. Typically the water is warm and that is like the best time to go. And the neap tide is an easier tide, so to speak, when you're crossing the channel. So I was getting slot 1 in the best tide at the best summer. So I was like, it's totally meant to be. And it all happened, one day after the next. And so for me, it just felt very serendipitous that 2025 was going to be my year.
Mm-hmm.
So I was real excited. And then I get to England, and the entire summer, everybody is crossing, not everybody, but the majority of people that would go out, you would see on the Facebook pages, solo success, tandem success, relay success. And then I get to England and the weather turned again.
Oh, were you just crushed then, thinking like, oh no, it's not going to happen?
Yes, I was devastated because it was not really rainy, but, over cloud, which is it's England. So you kind of expect that. But the winds are terrible. So it just kept getting from 8 miles an hour to 12 miles an hour to 25 miles an hour to literally a day or two before I ended up going, it was 30-mile-an-hour winds. And so at this point, I was laughing so hard because if not, I was going to cry. So I was making memes of me like that I was flying like Superman because the wind was so bad, So it was rough and, total heartbreak every day being like, oh my God, my window has started and it's now 30-mile-an-hour winds. There's no way I'm going to go. But leading up to the swim, I had a massive girl crush on Trudy Ederle. And her movie Young Women in the Sea had come out last May before my attempt number 1. And so I had all my family and friends watch the movie. And as like, this is what I'm doing, guys. This is why I'm doing it. This woman crossed and like she's inspired open water swimming for so many. And just watched it literally 5 times. So then when I went back again last year or this year, I rewatched the movie another 4 times. In fact, my send off, with my girlfriends that I swim with here in Los Angeles, my going away party was pizza and watching that movie. So I just love it. I love the story. I love what she's accomplished. And another thing that's serendipitous is when I was there last year, there was no monument in her honor. They put it in September. So when I was there this year, there was a monument there. And so I had heard about it and I was like, oh, I want to go check that out just to give ode to Trudy Ederle. And then the most amazing thing happened. My boat captain said, all right, you're going to go out tomorrow. And that tomorrow was August 6th, which is the same day Trudy Ederle swam the channel 99 years prior. So I was just like, oh my gosh, not only am I going to swim the English Channel, I finally get to go because it looked like the weather was just going to like halt for a day. And so I was like panicking of excitement, and went down to her monument, found it, brought her some flowers and put it on top of her monument and whispered into the monument's ear and said, asked her for her blessing to share the day with her because I was so honored and so excited to be a part of this experience for myself and, and with her, in a weird way. And left them there on the monument and took one more flower and walked down the beach path about 200 yards to the part of the shore where she officially kind of came in and put a couple of those flowers in the water and chatted with her again and just said, I'm ready to do this and I'm ready to do this in honor of my parents and I'm ready to do this in honor of you and just please let me share the day with you. And went back home and prepped, mentally and, with nutrition and all those things.
What was that mental prep right before you're going to do it?
So it was a lot of reminding myself that I'm so trained up. I've trained not once for this, but now twice, and that it's out of my hands. Like it's just like a marathon with running. You're never going to swim the whole distance, but you're going to get pretty close. And so you're ready. Your body's going to be in tune. You're there for it. You're mentally there for it. And just had to just calm myself down. And so I watched Young Woman in the Sea one more time. So I, we put that on the night before and, just zoned out and just let myself know that it was there. And and so I was just excited and we woke up at 5 or 4 in the morning to be at the dock for 5. And we set off around 6. And while I was on the boat, I had bought a separate bouquet of flowers for the Lady of the Sea for the English Channel. And I dripped a little syrup on the flowers and said a little prayer to the flowers and said a little whisper in the prayer to the English Channel and asked her for her blessing to let me cross as well. So I gave her a little sweet of dessert and little flowers as a gift to let her know that I respect her. And I know that it's ultimately her decision if I'm gonna cross or not. And I sprinkled those in the water as we left the Dover Marina over to Shakespeare Beach, and just did that, and then got on the edge of the shore. You got on the edge of the boat and just had to completely grease myself up. And I have a concoction of lanolin and Desitin and sunblock and jellyfish sunblock, and it's a whole bunch of stuff. So to help with anti-chafing while you're swimming. So Selwyn, who was my crew chief, was on the boat and he lathered me up. And then the boat captain said, all right, Rach, you're going to have to swim over to that shore. And once you get there, raise your hands and we'll sound a horn. And once the horn goes off, that's your cue to start swimming. And then you just keep swimming till you hit France.
And it was a 16-hour swim.
Correct. Yeah. So I swam for 16 hours and 6 minutes on the 6th of August. So I'm kind of like loving the number 6. Mm-hmm. And it was pretty cool. So leading up to it, I had actually had some shoulder issues. So I had to get a couple of cortisone shots. So I was nervous that might come into play while I was swimming. But thankfully, I had a little help from the sea to cure that pain, which I'll get to in a moment. But tradition within open water swimming is you want to give a gift to where you're going and where you're coming from. Okay. So as I was jumping off the boat, starting at Shakespeare Beach, I had brought with me a rock from Santa Monica Beach that I typically swim in and wrote, love Rachel Griffin on it. And I gifted that to the shores of Shakespeare Beach and then took a little pebble from Shakespeare. So when I landed in France, I would give that to France. So you just kind of tuck it in your swim cap as the gift is as you go. So I had a lot of things in my swim cap because my dad had passed away recently in April. So I was doing the swim now not only in honor of my mom, but in my dad. So I had both their mass cards tucked up in my swim cap as well. So they were definitely with me the entire time I was swimming. So so I hopped off the boat, got to Shakespeare Beach, gifted my rock, and said a little prayer and asked my parents to guide me, asked Trudy to guide me, and asked the Lady of the Sea to let me pass. And the horn went off, and then it was like, oh boy, okay, here we go. And kind of walked in and just kept swimming. And so for most swimmers, you do a nutrition break every 30 minutes. And the 30 minutes is whatever you want your food to be. For me, I did primarily 97% all liquid, which is an 8-ounce bottle of a protein powder with like carbs in it, or a gel pack with water, or a boost, like the drinks that older people typically drink. They get Ensures and the boosts. So I do a chocolate one with that because it's got 20 grams of protein. So I know it's going to keep me full. Then I usually add like a chocolate gel pack in that as well because it's got a little bit of caffeine. And then on the 6 hours, I do like a 5-hour energy to kind of get me going. So everybody's plans are different from what they like. But that's what I did. So on the hour, I did the powder with the protein and the carbs. And then on the half hour, I did the gel packs with any other concoction mixing. So for the first hour, I swam. And then on that hour and then moving forward, I would get a bottle and drink it. And ideally, you want to drink it in 20 seconds, less than a minute. It is a quick turnaround because the more you're drinking and chilling, the boat is going forward and the current is pulling you this way. So you are, you got to catch up to where you were. So you don't chit chat. You don't want to keep, hanging out and relaxing because you're going to lose time.
Logistically, how does that happen? I don't know the rules as far as like, can you get near the boat, or are they handing the food to you, or how do you get those nutrients?
Yeah. So English Channel rules are very specific. So you can only wear a regular bathing suit, one pair of goggles, earplugs, and one swim cap. And that is it. No wetsuits, like I had KT tape, like a big Band-Aid on my shoulder to help with my shoulder pain. And I had to take that off because that is aiding me. So you cannot have any extra things on your body. You can't wear a watch because the Garmin can buzz and let you know that you've gone 3 miles, 5 miles, and you can feel it. So you're like, okay, I've done this. My pace is great. So it's Trudy didn't have a watch. Trudy didn't have tape. Trudy didn't have a wetsuit. So Trudy's doing it the regular way. This girl's doing it the regular way. So, so you cannot touch the boat. You cannot even high five anybody. You cannot do anything. You are on your own. So for them to hand you food, there are multiple ways to do it. For me, we had a very long rope that we tied to the bottles, and then Selwyn would walk to the top of the boat, like the front of the boat, and throw it overboard. So I would swim all the way to the front of the boat, and then I would drink the bottle. And then by the time I got to the end of the boat from the current change, I needed to be done with that bottle. And then he would reel it back in, rinse it out. Even though we had multiple bottles on the boat, he would rinse them all out. So just in case there was an off chance a little bit of seawater got in the bottle, it wouldn't mix in with my contraption of the next meal. And then I could get seasick from drinking too much ocean water. So every 30 minutes, he would do that. There was times at the 4-hour mark, my shoulder was starting to hurt. So I was nervous because I didn't take any Tylenol beforehand that I had originally thought I was going to do. And then the excitement of it all, I completely forgot. But I had previously mashed up Advil into the powder of my drink. So it was so easy that all you have to do is add water and drink it, versus trying to hand me 2 Tylenols or 2 Advils and then try to take the pill. I could drop it. Who knows? So it's already pre-mashed, ready to go. So when things like that come up, Selwyn and myself, we have to adjust because now my 6-hour feed has become my 4-hour feed. So everything is going to be completely, not shifted completely, but it's altered. And thankfully for me, again, every swimmer is different. I didn't have to have an exact thing at the 3-hour mark or the 3.5-hour mark. All my gels, I didn't care what flavor gel I got. I didn't care. Like give me that at 2 hours, 5 hours, whatever it was, as long as it's a gel, I'm good. So for me, it didn't mess up my timing like too much. But it just had alternates. So then I had to Selwyn had to make note. Okay, you did Tylenol at 4 hours, so don't give it at 6 hours, because it's too close. So things like that. So the Advil I took at hour 4, I did that boost with chocolate milk, and then I did it again at hour 8. I did the 5-hour energy, like I mentioned, at 6 hours, and I was just cruising. I was just in the zone. I was totally fine. I got so blessed with the most amazing conditions. Like Trudy, my mom, my dad, the lady of the sea, they all were like, "All right, girl, you've been through the ringer. This is your second attempt. You're raising money for charity. We're gonna help you out." So I got really lucky. The winds the day before that were 30 dropped down to 10. So the boat then blocked the 10, so I felt like I was swimming in like 5-mile-an-hour winds. Like, so it was smooth. It was nice. I was spoiled rotten. It was fantastic.
What goes through your mind, like mentally, to keep yourself going and swimming, moving forward for 16 hours?
It's a little tricky. And each swimmer has their own way. And I know I keep saying that, but it's just a reminder that when you're doing your thing, do it for you. You don't, just because it worked for me, it may not work for you. And I just want people to know that, oh my God, well, Rachel always did this and it worked so well. Why do I feel sick, or why don't it? Because my body is completely different than your body's, and my mental state is different than whoever else is. And so just remind yourself that each person is different, and what works for one will not work for the other, in training and in life. So never compare yourself to somebody else's, because you're awesome the way you're awesome doing your own thing. And that's why I keep reiterating that it's each person, each swimming technique is different, because my form out the window, which we'll get to later. And I'm not a fast swimmer. So each person is different. But for me, when I did the Catalina Channel in 2018, which is swimming from Catalina to Palos Verdes, the coast of California, same distance technically as England, but the currents are not as strong. So it is kind of like a straight line. For that one, I watched movies in my head. I watched Big. I watched Speed. I watched Lethal Weapon. I was watching them all. I was quizzing people on the boat to see if they knew what scene I was in. I would quote a line from a movie and see if they could answer it, because it was a little bit more of a party. I had a bunch of people on the boat that time. It was a little bit more relaxed, and it was my first swim. I didn't really have a clue what was at stake. I had 7-minute, nutrition breaks versus the 30 seconds for England. So it was a whole different experience. So for this one, I was trained up, ready to rewatch movies in my head. Like that was my plan. And in fact, even in training in the pool, I put movies on Bluetooth just to listen. So I re-listened to Top Gun and Speed and Goonies and all the ones that I can do verbatim and say the lines before they even come. So I had them refresh in my brain. And then, you know what happened? I watched Young Woman in the Sea for 16 hours. So I just kept replaying that movie in my head, because I just kind of was just blessed with great conditions. And I kid you not, this entire swim, I feel like I almost mirrored what she did. So I was very lucky. So in the previous 2 swims, my older sister was on the boat for Catalina and for New York, and she was slated to be on the boat this year. She was there last year, and she was there this year, but then the weather got so bad, she couldn't stay the whole time, so she had to go back. So she ended up not being on the boat, and that's the only thing that didn't match up fully with Trudy, because on Trudy's boat, at least in the movie anyway, her sister's on the boat, and and her Selwyn. But she started at 7 a.m. I started at 6 a.m. Like she had great conditions. The first year she had fanfare with all the paparazzi trying to, watch her do it. And she, didn't make it. I had all my family on the shore the first time, all the anticipation of me going, and then I didn't go. So it's like, it was almost the same. And then as we're swimming, she's doing a great job, and then gets motivation from her sister by her sister jumping into the water. Selwyn was screaming to me motivational, talks on the boat from everybody tuning in on YouTube and on Facebook, and my sister, while she wasn't there on the boat, Selwyn had a WhatsApp chat with my family, and Jenny was posting it to Facebook and everything, saying all the updates of everything that's going on. So she was on the boat, even though she wasn't on the boat.
Yeah.
So I just mirrored kind of everything that Trudy was doing, and I just truly felt her spirit and my mom and my dad's spirit like with me the whole way. That every time I tried to watch another movie, it just kept coming back to Young Woman in the Sea. So I just kept rewatching that. In fact, the funny part is in Young Woman in the Sea, I don't know what hour she's in, but she is roughly probably like 10 or 12 hours in. And on the France side of the channel is when it gets warmer, and that's where there are a ton of jellyfish. And so in the movie, she has to swim through a large area of them and gets completely stung all over. I get the French side and I got nailed by a jellyfish as well. But the blessing for me is I was still having my shoulder pain, and the jellyfish hit my shoulder and its tentacles wrapped around my arm. And I was like, and it kind of woke me up because I was just in a zone of swimming that it stopped me in my tracks. And Sal was like, "Are you okay?" I was like, "Yeah, I just got hit by a jellyfish." And like, man, that really, man, that'll wake you up, But the pain kept going. And so I was swimming. And as I'm looking down at my shoulder, in my mind, my shoulder had welded up because of all the white gunk I had on my body. I thought with all of that pain and the puffiness of my shoulder, I thought that was just all inflammation because I had a jellyfish stung the summer before and my back welted up. So I was like, just keep swimming. Don't say anything because they're going to pull you out of the water. And then when I stopped for nutrition, I realized that the sting went away, but my entire shoulder pain that I had gone away. And then I looked at my arm and that puffiness was no longer there. So I think it was actually the jellyfish that was like stuck to my shoulder as I was swimming. And then it like slinked off. But the venom of the sting cured my shoulder pain. So I was like, thanks, man. That's great.
So you're like, I'm going to bottle that up.
I know. I got to figure out a way how to, source venom from jellyfish and make a topical cream for all open water swimmers. So you heard it here. If anybody else comes up with it, they owe me the invention idea.
I heard you say that in your recap, and I was like, there's your next product. You're on
It is, right?
onto something. Do it.
So it was a blessing and a curse all the same. And there was a couple other little like floaty jellyfish around that didn't sting or anything. They were just kind of saying hello. And the team on the boat said they saw dolphins. I didn't see anything. And there were huge freighter boats out to the center or to the left of me that I vaguely saw one set nutrition, but I didn't see them enough. But the guy said that, they're like 100 yards away. They're not that far. So it was pretty spectacular. And there was only one time that I thought I was cold, and it was probably like hour 14. It was kind of just as the sun was shifting. So then the boat was blocking the sun, but it was blocking the wind. So when I came back for nutrition and ended up falling further behind the boat, I saw how sunny it was on the other side of the boat. And so I asked the team if I could swim on that side. They're like, yeah, you could swim, wherever you want. So I went on that side, and it was so warm and delightful. But the wind was there. So that 5 miles had gone back up to like that 10-mile-an-hour wind. So, which again is not tidal waves. It's not whitecaps, but it's just a little smack in the face, So I was like, ooh, do I want to get smacked in the face and be warm, or be a little bit chillier and have smoother water? And I went back to the darker side of the boat, so to speak. And then I asked Selwyn, I said, hey, my boost is coming up soon. Can you warm it up? Not hot, but just like a nice, warm, hot chocolate. And it was delightful.
How do you keep calm? Like, all of us normal, regular swimmers, I think, have stories or times when we've just felt like overwhelmed by the ocean, or maybe you catch a wave that like takes you under and you just get that, kind of panic. Like, how do you just keep yourself like zen the whole time you're swimming and just focused and not getting, petrified by different things your mind might think about could be out there with you, or you're basically
that is tricky because, you hit some kelp and you freak out that it's something else, or, it is a little tricky for sure. For me, even though I was doing the swim, I was the vessel for the swim. I was the vessel for getting there. For me, it was about all those that can't do it, that can't do anything. So my mindset was, you've been training so hard for this, you're raising money, to help cure cancer, and you're not getting out of the water. Like, I don't care if a hurricane starts coming and there are tidal waves, like you'll surf them, like you'll body surf them in, like you're in this water to help others. And so every time I second guess myself on something, I just had to remind myself that you're doing this for mom and dad because they're not here, and you don't want somebody else to not have their mom and dad or their brother or their sister or their dog or their, whatever it is that's um, getting eaten alive by cancer. And it's just heartbreaking. So for me, I kept putting myself in check and reminding myself that you're doing this because other people can't do it. Other people can't even get out of bed or walk themselves to the bathroom. And here you are, you can swim the English Channel. Mm-hmm. So just keep swimming, keep swimming, keep swimming. And then ultimately you will get to France and you will raise that money.
Mm-hmm. It's so powerful. I know you talked about, going through the tough times with your parents, but you thought it was maybe meant to be that they were there together now watching you, as one. How did that emotionally kind of feel for you?
It was very emotional and very hard to accept at first because my mom had passed away 17 years ago at age 65. So it was very, very young. And my dad is 83 when he just passed away. So my dad, was able to have a whole second life, which is so bizarre when they, started dating when they were teenagers in high school. And it was heartbreaking because my dad had just renewed his passport. He was on the other side of his cancer treatments. So he thought, he was kind of going to be good to go. And so he was super excited and couldn't wait to be there. He said, he's like, I know you don't want any fanfare since you've had so much fanfare last year. But, I updated my passport. So I want to be there because I have a feeling it's going to happen too. And I was like, okay, be like, yay, Mm-hmm. And then when he passed in April, it was just kind of like oh, all right, it's weird. It's a weird feeling to not have parents, especially when we're all kind of young now and everybody lives so much older. But my siblings were all pretty close. So that is endearing to have that support. And we all joked that that's why it didn't happen last year. It's because I was doing this for my mom, and my dad obviously is such a big part of my family and my mom's life and the battle that she had, that I think that it was meant to be for us to all do it together versus everybody in all these different locations. So I really think that is why it happened that way. That they knew that this was so important to me and the reasons behind it. And I think they needed to see it together and hold hands up top and help me the best way they could together, which leads to the story towards the end. So as I'm swimming, there was one part where Selwyn said, okay, you need to swim faster for like 20 minutes or 30 minutes. And I was like, okay, great. And in my mind, that is the way the tides go. You have to catch a certain tide to like do certain parts within the channel. And at the end, when you're literally like 5 miles out, the tides change quickly. And if you're not at a certain spot, then it brings you up the coast of France, and then you have to try to get in. And so if you miss that turn, you're swimming for at least 2 more hours, if not longer. And so when I was told to swim faster, I thought it was for me to catch that turn to get me to a different spot to land. And then, so I swam faster, at least in my head, I thought I swam faster. I looked at the videos and I'm like, am I moving? So I don't know if my fast made any difference. So needless to say, I missed that turn. So I did have to swim an extra 2 hours, which was fine because, to be fair, where I landed is where I wanted to land. I wanted to land on sandy beach and not the Cap Grenaz, which is boulders and rocks, and you have to climb up. And if the weather's too bad or the water's too high or too low, they make you just put your hand on a dry rock, and like that's the finish versus like walking out of the shore. And I personally wanted to walk out of the water onto the ground. But yeah, so at one point, Selma was like, okay, we have to add on lights. And I was like, oh, man, I missed it. So I was like, okay. So had to, swim longer. But I was like, all right, well, 14 hours down, 3 more to go, 15 hours down, two more to go. Because in my head, I envisioned it being at least 17 hours based off of my own pace and previous swims. And so I was like, all right. And he's like, you're good. And I'm like, yeah, I'm great. Like, let's keep going. And he's just like, oh my God. Whereas he's the kind of guy like, don't tell me, just tell me to keep swimming. And when I get there, I'll get there. And if I said you're in the water for 15 hours already, he's more of a, oh boy, I've already been in the hours for 15 hours. Like, oh man, where I'm like, wait, 15 down, let's keep going.
Crazy.
So, yeah. So as we're swimming, or as I'm swimming, and the boat is thankfully inching me closer and closer to shore, I get my last feed, and Selwyn's like, okay, Rach, so after this, the dinghy boat is gonna bring you in because we've hit the shallows. And again, in Young Woman in the Sea, the boat can't go any further because they hit the shallows of Dover, and the boat can't take them anymore. So Trudy has to do the last bit on herself, on her own, in the dark. And I am doing the last bit on my own in the dark. I have a dinghy because back then they didn't have dinghies like this, but and Mike on the dinghy is pointing me in the direction of where to go. And the only light I can see is the light of the lighthouse of where they originally wanted me to land, again, which is not that far away. It's only like 500 yards, but the way the currents pull you, I'm up the shore now. And then Mike is like, no, don't go that way. You can't go that way. Go straight, go straight. See that light on the beach? And I can't see a light on the beach because there is no moon. It is pitch black, and I have tinted goggles on because I didn't pack my clear ones. So, so I can't see anything really. I just see like different shades of black, but it's still just all black to me. And so Mike kind of is just like, just keep swimming straight and you'll be fine. So I was like, okay. So I keep swimming straight, and then I hit sand, and I stand up, and it's at little above my waist, and I'm like, oh my God, I've hit sand. So I walk a little further, and then I like trip over myself and fall in because there's like a hole. So then it gets deeper again. It was like a sandbar that I hit or something. So I swim more, and then just like in Young Woman in the Sea, my hands hit sand, and I literally was like, oh my gosh, I'm here. I'm here. And so I stand up all, wobbly like the Little Mermaid, and start trying to walk, and I'm just regurgitating over and over. I'm like, thank you, Mom and Dad. Thank you, Mom and Dad. Thank you, Trudy. Thank you, Lady of the Sea. I can't believe I did this. Tears are streaming down my face. I lift my goggles up because it's a puddle in there. And I just keep walking. And then all of a sudden I do not feel the sand being wet anymore. And I look down, and I'm on fluffy, dry sand, and I scream back to Mike, I'm under land. I don't know if he can hear me or what, because waves are still crashing. It is pitch black. So you can't hear anything. And so now this light that Mike was pointing to is up the beach about 50 yards or so. Now you have to imagine, and this is again where I think my parents came into play, is this is a deserted beach. It is 8 o'clock at night. There is not a soul that is there. There's no houses there. There's no lights there. There is nothing but Gunnar and Lisa. So Gunnar and Lisa are this amazing couple who I startled completely because I emerged out of the water like a sea monster and came upon them and startled them with them literally jumping out of their skin and turning to me like, oh my God, what? And I was like, hi, my name's Rachel. I just swam from England. Please tell me you have a phone or a camera. Can you take a photo of me? And Gunnar looked at me like I had 12 heads and was like, yeah, sure. So he took an amazing photo of me. Lisa came out of her tent and was like, I am so sorry. Did you just swim from England? Did I just hear? And I'm just like in the giggles and the fit of exuberance. And I'm just like, yeah, like it's right over there, And,
no big deal.
Yes, no big deal. It's over there. And she was just like, do you need anything? Do you want to sit down? Do you want to lay down? Can I get you a drink? How are you getting back to England? All the most hilarious questions. And so I truly think that was my parents in play, because my mom, because if I landed on the rocks, then Selwyn would have been able to take a picture of me from the boat. So I would have had some sort of documentation, or would have been able to video me landing in some capacity. He could have jumped off the boat himself and like swam in and got on the GoPro. But because I missed that cap and now I went up the shore, to the sandy, deserted beach. There's nobody there. The boat is too far away to come in and get it. Mike can't come in on the dinghy because again, it's too shallow to go in. So there was nobody there. So my mom was like, probably like, oh shoot, Billy, we gotta get somebody we gotta get somebody there to document this. Like she can't land there and have nothing. And my dad's like, I got it. And my dad is such a trickster and such a funny guy that he's like, I'll get the photo, but I get to make it hilarious. And so I think me scaring this German couple, in the abyss to the point where when Gunnar emailed me the photo, the caption, the subject line of the email was "Close Encounters of the Third Kind."
I love it.
So yeah, so I definitely think my dad, my mom, we're behind them being on the shore.
Oh, man. I mean, what an incredible journey story. Just wow, wow, wow.
Yeah, it's amazing, and the icing on the cake, I would say, or the feather in my swim cap is when the swim was over, I had learned that my sister-in-law's mom had grown up with Trudy Ederle's niece. And so the town had done a Facebook post of my flowers on the monument and sent it to her saying, oh, a swimmer has left flowers for you. For your aunt, she's going out the same day, and or the swimmer, like how cool is that or whatever. And then my aunt had texted her saying with that picture saying, my daughter's husband's sister, however you want to say that, she just swam the English Channel and she visited your aunt's monument and left her flowers. And she was like, oh my God, the town had told me that somebody had left flowers. Like, that's amazing to put a face to the name. And then Debbie's like, yeah, and she just finished it. She's so excited. She's inspired by your aunt. That's amazing, And so Debbie connected me to her via text, and I just said, oh my God, like it's such an honor to meet anybody related to Trudy Ederle. Like this is fantastic, and I'm just honored that she was willing to share her day with me because it's a huge honor to me. And also I just want to let you know that there is a bar in Dover, England, where any successful solo swimmer gets to put their name and their time and their country on the wall. And the iconic ones, the ones that break records, get to put it on the ceiling behind the bar. So it's never messed with. So I would be absolutely honored if I can write her name on there because she's not written there. And she gave me permission to write Trudy Ederle's name. So I got to write Trudy Ederle's name on the ceiling 99 years after she did the swim. And that was just like a nice big hug around a heart of a beautiful day. So still a little teary when I get to think about that. I got the permission, and the sweet thing was she's like, can you write your name next to hers? And I was like, no, that's where people go. I'm with the riffraff over here in the corner. But I did do a little red heart RG, next to it. So I got a little bit of me in there. So, but yeah, that was just kind of like the permission she gave me to, give her aunt the honor that she deserved was just so just spectacular.
Yeah, that's just incredible. I love how much your story was all intertwined all along. I love things like that.
Right? It's bananas. It's very cool and exciting.
Yeah. Well, so this not only did you just do this, then now you got the crown. You got the triple crown. So talk about what that involves. What is the triple crown of solo swimming?
Yeah, so the triple crown is technically they say you've swam the three hardest in the world, which is the Catalina Channel from Catalina to California, the 20 bridges, which is the full circumvent of Manhattan Island in New York City, and then the English Channel. So they consider those the three hardest because of all the conditions. So Catalina, there are sharks and tide and freighter boats and jellyfish and all the things. New York, you have ferry boats to contend with, obviously trash and dead bodies and everything else in those rivers. Plus, there's three different rivers that you have to be able to time your swim to hit each river and their currents, or else the currents go the opposite way. So then you're basically swimming in a treadmill and you're not moving. So you have to time each swim to enter each river to do it fully. And then, of course, the English Channel, which, it took me 2 years to do it, based off of the weather conditions. So the weather is the biggest catalyst in the English Channel. Plus, the jellyfish. Plus, it is really typically it is extremely cold because it is usually the warmest it will get is 64 degrees. I got lucky, and I don't want to say thanks to global warming, but thank you, global warming is the one time that this was beneficial for me because the swim for me started at 65, and when I got to France, the water was 72.
Mm.
So it did warm up, but in typical swims, it is not like that. It is 60 to 65 is the usual. But yeah, those jellyfish, those freighter boats, those currents, it's very rare that somebody has almost a straight line swimming from England to France. It is usually like an S shape of sorts or a zigzaggy type line because the tides and the currents are so strong. So a lot of factors go into each swim. There are other big ones, and there's a thing called the Ocean Seven where you swim, a lot more. There's the North Channel. There is Molokai Channel out in Hawaii. There's a bunch of other stronger, big swims as well that equals the Ocean Seven. But yeah, they slate that the Triple Crown is the three that I had mentioned. And thankfully for me, I am now in the elite class that has done it because at the end of last year, there was 366 people that have ever done it since open water swimming of the English Channel started 150 years ago. And in general, less than 2,000 people have ever swum the channel in total, which is, I mean, if you look at Mount Everest, that's, people are doing that on the daily now, so like this is it's even harder. So, so I'm beyond honored and stoked to be among such amazing elite swimmers. It's crazy.
Yeah, congratulations. I mean, that's such an accomplishment. Where
Thank
did
you.
this intense love for swimming start?
As a kid, we grew up in New York on, excuse me, on very small lakes, but like almost like ponds. So I wouldn't even really call it a lake, but we moved to North Carolina and lived there for 5 years and lived on the ocean. And so while I was never a swim team ocean or swim team swimmer, I learned how to swim to survive and boogie board and surf and wakeboard, like that kind of stuff. But swimming happened when I started doing triathlon in 2014. And I just, every time I would get in the water, I did it with Team in Training, again, to raise money for charity. And that came with coaches. So you had coaches at the pool, you had coaches for your bike, you had coaches how to run better. So actually learning how to swim properly was extremely helpful and made me like it even more. So when I started training for triathlon for Ironman, it was like every time I would get in the water, I'd be like, oh shoot, I got to get out and get on the bike. Oh man. So I just really just fell in love with it. And Selwyn, who was my man on the boat, he has done the English Channel and New York City. And so he's slated to do his Triple Crown in the coming years because he has Catalina left. But he was living in Santa Monica. He now lives in Hawaii. But he said, I was like, Selwyn, triathlon's over for me. I'm bored. Like, but I love it out here. I'm like, do you think I could do the Catalina Channel? This was back in 2017. He said, yeah, if you just get out of your bloody buttsuit. And I was wearing a sleeveless short wetsuit. It wasn't even like a full head to toe garbs. And I was like, all right. So the next day I took off my wetsuit, got in the water, and I swam to the buoy, which is about 200 yards out. And I was like, woo, this is hard. I'm good. Like, woo. And then the next weekend I went out and I did the buoy and I did a lifeguard tower. And then the next weekend I went out, I did a buoy and 2 lifeguard towers. And I just kept slowly building myself up and then cutting myself down, like backing it up to give myself some rest and then building myself up and cutting back. And so that was in July of 2019. In January of 2018, I decided I was going to do the Catalina Channel, and I trained for the 8 months. And I did it for pancreatic cancer to kick it off. And I swam on my mom's birthday.
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I want to go back real quick too, because you said, I was bored of triathlons. And you barely said Ironman. I mean, you didn't just do like a sprint triathlon here and there. So let's talk also about you accomplishing these major Ironman feats.
Yeah. So I have done 2 Ironmans. I did Ironman Cozumel in 15 and Ironman Boulder in 16. And it was just a challenge to myself. I was really a bit of a workaholic, which we'll get to that later because I still kind of am. But I realized that I was just in the office way too long. I'd be in before 9 and out at after 9. And, you may love your job, but sometimes your job doesn't love you back. And so I realized if I don't sign up for something so drastic to give me reason to get out of the office, I never will. Like a 5K, you can kind of like walk through that, or, a marathon, it's training, but you most of your training runs on the weekends. So I was like, I need something ridiculous. So that's when I signed up for my first Ironman, which was November 30th, I think, of 2015, and started training. But again, I was not a proper swimmer. I can barely run across the street. So I had to, I went through team and training for two reasons. One, because as I had mentioned earlier, it came with coaches for all the different disciplines, which I loved. It was raising money for Leukemia Lymphoma Society, which had touched my family through other relatives and friends. And I love the idea of raising money for charity if I'm going to do something that those folks cannot do. And then three, I used them because Cozumel Ironman had two transition areas, which most Ironmans, you do all your transition areas are in one spot. But for Cozumel, it had two different ones. And the 70.3, the half Ironman that the team and training team was doing, that I was training with them for that, and then I continued on my own for the full. That particular half Ironman called Vineman, which is up in Santa Rosa, California, had two transition areas as well. So I used that as a platform to get myself to train properly, to have the two different transition areas and really kind of learn and so forth. So yeah, and again, like I had mentioned with my swimming, my form is sometimes super terrible. I am a slow swimmer. Ironman, I am a slow Ironman. You have 17 hours to complete it. I finished my first one in 16:16:46. And the second one, despite throwing up the entire marathon, I finished with a 5-minute PR and did it in 16 hours and 11 minutes. Again, I'm not a podium person, and I don't want to say I want to discourage people from being podium people, but I do. I want to discourage if you fall in love with a sport or an activity, you don't have to be the best. You could be the best for you, like I knew I was never going to be a podium. I was never going to qualify to go to Kona, and I didn't care. I wanted to do this challenge for myself and finish it, and so I knew I was going to be, I'm like, you guys are going to be there till midnight. If you're going to come cheer, rest all day and then, come cheer me at the end. But
yeah, but that's a great way to just enjoy the journey and be, really proud of the accomplishment and the follow through.
Yeah. That's what I tell everybody. They're like, oh my God, I would be so afraid I wouldn't finish, or I wouldn't. And you know what? You don't, if you don't, and in fact, this guy, Rodrigo, I met at a wedding probably in 2005 or 6. And he, at the time, was probably 300 pounds. Like, he was a big guy. And we were at this wedding, and we were just the only ones, we get matched up at the table. And he was like, oh yeah, I'm going to do the Hermosa Beach Triathlon next month. And I was like, oh my God, that's awesome. And all the words came out of my mouth that comes out of everybody else's mouth. Aren't you afraid of swimming in the ocean? Like, oh my God, how can you bike that long? Like, running 3 miles, like, after doing those two, like, that sounds awful. Like, how, whatever. And he said, yeah, he's like, I'm just going to put one foot in front of the other and just keep going. And then he literally said to me, Rach, if I can do it, you can do it. Like, making fun of himself with his weight. And I was like, you know what, Rodrigo, you're right. And so the next morning, when I got home that night, I signed up for the Hermosa Beach Triathlon, with my beach cruiser. And the next morning I woke up and ran around the block and like collapsed in my front yard. And I was like, what the heck am I thinking? I got in the water I didn't even have a triathlon wetsuit. I had my surfing wetsuit, which is actually like weighs you down more than it helps you out. And I swam out, past the surf, and I was like, oh my God, this is awful. And I did that triathlon, and I came in absolutely last place. And I saw Rodrigo on the run part. And I was like, oh my God, hey, how are you? He said, well, I didn't finish. I couldn't do the swim. But even though I got pulled out of the swim, I still went on and did the bike ride. And he was walking the 3 miles. And, he was still doing it to the best he could do it. And I saw him probably 5 years later. He had lost 200 pounds, has done multiple marathons and triathlons, and married with 2 kids. And his mindset has, shifted, because he had that one little goal of doing a sprint triathlon. And even though he didn't finish the swim, he still did it, and I was like, that is inspiring. And you are the reason why I'm doing this. Wow. And I hope I can have the ripple effect for somebody else. So, I mean, yeah, if it wasn't for Rodrigo, I wouldn't be at all where I am. So again, one little pebble makes a
Yeah.
huge ripple.
Yeah. Well, you are definitely creating a big ripple now. So you're inspiring a lot of people with what you accomplished. So now I want to transition a little bit because not only did you kill all these athletic endeavors, but you also co-founded your own business. So I want to talk about how you started that and how you had the desire to be your own boss.
Yeah, it was scary, and it took a lot of years of convincing myself and my business partner to make the leap. So my business partner and I, Sheena, we are both in the toy industry, and we have been lucky enough to be paid to be big kints for over 20 years. So it's a very, very lucky and super fun industry to be in. And so at the time when we met, I was at a company called MGA Entertainment, and for those now, that's LOL Surprise, the Bratz dolls, though it's that company. And Sheena was at Razor Scooters. And at the time, Razor was launching a new Vespa scooter for kids. Goes like 20 miles an hour and it's great. And we were both such small companies that at this holiday event in September, we were all the way to the right. In the middle was the Mattels, the Hasbros, like the big companies that everybody kind of comes to this. And we are these two tiny little companies, over to the right. And so media was coming, but we were just like the last thought. So I was just like, we gotta figure this out. And so we were just across from each other, just chit-chatting, and we were like, I got an idea because I personally just wanted to drive her Vespa thing around. Like that's what I wanted to do. Because I was like, I'm bored. Let me just play with your thing. And then we're like, oh, we got an idea. So I took her Vespa and put Bratz dolls in the basket. And I scooted around the Javits Center in New York City and found any human with a badge that said media on it. I didn't care if they wrote for, they wanted to talk about pet toys. I brought them over. If it was the New York Times, I brought them over. It didn't matter. As long as they had a media badge, I put them on the back of the Vespa and I scooted them around Javits and said, this is the Vespa 300. This does da 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 da, isn't this great? Bah, bah, bah. And I dropped them off to Sheena, where Sheena then talked about my Bratz dolls along with the rest of the Vespa line. And then I would zip away and pick up another person with a media badge. And then I would, give them the sales pitch on the way and then drop them back at Sheena, pick up the person that I had previously dropped off and zip them back to where they were. And I guess we pretty much kicked off experiential marketing before it was a thing. But we got major coverage that year in all the media markets because of the creativity that we did together. And so we had known that at some point we would want to work together. And so when she was leaving Razor, she was ready to start, but I had just started another career at Spin Master, so I wasn't ready. And then she went to an agency, MWW, which was awesome. And I had left Spin and I was ready, but then she wasn't ready, so timing wasn't quite lining up. And so I was now at Jack's Pacific, another large toy company. And it's so fun. I've been so lucky to be at all of my companies for, 5 years each, like toys are fun. You kind of never once you're like the mafia, once you're in, you never leave. And it's been so fun. And then another small toy company had approached me to leave Jack's to go work for them. And I was like, you know what, I'm happy here. It's great. I said, if I were to ever leave, I think I would just have to leave and do my own thing or something. And I said that like off the cuff comment, not like that was my statement. And they came back and said, all right, well, here's the deal. We don't care how we get you. You can come in and work in-house and then leave and we'll be your first client. You could come in.
Wow.
You could try sales and product development if you want. If you want to just try different parts of the business, you can do that. If you want to start your own agency, and we will be your first client. And they came to me in July, and it was for the following January. So it was a 6-month lead time. That's how early in advance they had reached out to me, and then I called Sheena and I was like, well, Sheena, this just happened. I got a call about this. I was like, what do you think? And she's like, I'm just over here waiting for you to be ready. Let's do it. So I was like, oh, okay. So then that was going into my second marathon swim. So that was right before I was doing the New York swim. So I was already distracted with training for swimming around New York City. And then this opportunity, kind of came in my head. So that's what I thought about a lot when I was swimming around New York was, oh, okay, we're going to create a company. We need to come up
Mhm.
with a name. We need to decide how we're going to do this. So, so yeah, so Sheena and I took the next few months, and I was still at Jack's, and decided to come up with a name and what we were going to do. And she lives in Utah now, so we had always planned on being remote, me working from LA and her working from Utah, which is great because most of the toy companies are here. So any in-person activities I could go to. There is always Skype, and then we can always travel in because Utah is not that far.
Mhm.
And we made our big announcement with an ad that one of the toy trades gave us for free because we've both have done so much work bringing business to them. And so we went to New York Toy Fair in February with our brand new first client. And a month later, we had COVID and the whole world shut down. So timing was not ideal, but it's actually a blessing for us because we were always working remote. We didn't have any changes that we needed to adjust to. We already didn't have to stress about office spaces that we had just leased or anything like that.
Mhm.
COVID happened and the world shut down, and it was a bit of a scary factor because we had just both quit our jobs and decided to make this huge PR agency ourselves and start from scratch with our one lonely client, which was amazing, but we can't live and feed families off of one lonely client. So thankfully we had great reputations within the industry, and so a lot of companies reached out to us for support. And I think the main reason was because they knew they were getting two top experienced executive type PR people with experience of 20 years for a fraction of the cost because
Mhm.
we were a startup agency. So they knew we wanted to grow our agency with client base and get the word out. But then at the same time, these companies all needed the support. And so I think it was a mutually beneficial experience for us. And again, since we had just started, we had no overhead. We didn't sign any leases for offices or anything like that. So we are set. And my office is what I'm sitting in, which is my 5x5 breakfast nook in my kitchen. And yeah, so it works. It's great. And Sheena is in Utah with her family and has 3 kids, but she's got a house and a basement. So for all of our clients, Sheena is the LA distribution center. And so all samples go to her, to her basement for organization and for media outreach or influencer kits or things like that. So it works out quite well. And then for events that are here in LA, I'm hands-on to meet for client, showroom meetings or presentations or, anything like that. So it's a great partnership.
And I know your mission is to just spread the playfulness and just keep that fun factor in life. So how are you doing that?
Yeah, it's really fun. And we joke, depending on the day of the week or what we're doing, we joke and say I'm the play and Sheena's the wise, or the next day it's Sheena's the play and I'm the wise of our PlayWise, because we both love being creative and just being silly. So a lot of times for clients, we have these media events for consumers and for influencers. And so prime example, just the past 3 alone, I dressed up as ridiculous characters. So this one we had in September, we had a little line called Booksies, which is had Disney characters, figurines, and then if you just like flip their hips a little bit and open them up, there's a colorful book inside.
Hmm.
And one of them is Moana and one of them is Stitch, which is very Hawaiian themed, island themed. So we had hula dancers there to teach the influencers how to hula dance. So I am with my regular flowy, flowery, colorful shirt, and I have a hula scooter and the lei, and I am hula dancing right along with these amazing, talented ladies. And the time before, we had a brand called Fugglers, and it was created by
Love those.
a really weird, lab misfit type
Yeah.
thing. And so I dressed up as the crazy lab person that went bananas with like crazy hair sticking out with fake teeth. And it was to mimic the Fuggler. And then the year before that was we had a game called Things Schitt's Creek. It was a card game. And so I dressed up as Moira from Schitt's Creek.
Nice.
So as long as we're having fun and it shows the accessibility of the games. And again, life is too hard already. There's no reason to make it harder. Be silly, have fun,
Hmm.
make people laugh, trip over yourself, laugh at yourself. So if you're not having fun in life, then there's a bigger problem to be had. But we're in the toy industry, so we really need to be having fun and getting everybody else around us, to feel like a big kid inside, because we also rep FAO Schwartz out of New York City, and that is the land of bringing out your inner child. So if you get a chance to go to that store, no matter what floor you were on, what area of the store you walk out, it is retail theatrics to the umpteenth degree, and it is just so fun that you can't help but the door opens from a toy soldier and a smile goes on your face from ear to ear. So and it's just great. So our industry is super fun, and to be able to be a toy expert and talk about toys, play with toys, sit on the floor with kids and show them how a toy works, and then forget that they're there and just keep playing yourself. It's quite fun.
I mean, what a great to be able to just continue to be a big kid like all your life, right? And enjoy that.
And if I had known that this was an actual job as a kid, I'm like, no, you're making that up. So so it's very lucky that we're able to do this.
Yeah, well, you have such a big heart and just so, you can just feel so much joy and empathy in you and just your how much you care about everything. And so another thing that I know is dear to you that you are also a foster parent. You want to talk a little bit about that experience and how that's shaped you?
Yes. So I love being a foster parent. I think every single person in the world should get certified or at least be a CASA advocate, which is basically like a big brother, big sister for those kids that are in the foster care system. So if you cannot house a child yourself, at least be an advocate for them. What's best for kids. How you can best help them out. I highly suggest anybody doing that. For me, my journey started because two of my best friends are a gay couple, and they wanted me to get certified to be a backup parent for them. So if they went out of town for the weekend, you have to be like background checked and all this kind of stuff to make sure the kids are being handed over to somebody safe and approved and all the things. And so I did that test for them. And then I was like, wait a second, I have a second bedroom. Like, I'm single. Like, I got the time. Why not? So in 2017, I got certified and I did it. And I was like, I'm all in. And then I decided to start training for Catalina and for New York. And so I got a little selfish and was training. And so I put it on hold after 2 calls had happened that I had gone to the grocery store, got everything ready for the house. And then they called to say they were going to be placed with somebody else because either somebody had a bigger home and they had siblings, or the court ended up changing their mind. They went back with their family, whatever the circumstances was. It was fine. But, originally I'm in the grocery store like, ooh, yay. And then I'm like, putting it back. So then when my plans changed to training for Catalina and for New York, I just told them I was on hold so I can be a little selfish and do this thing for myself. But just before my Manhattan swim, I got a text message that was about this long from a friend saying that she is aware of a 17-year-old girl that goes to Fairfax High School, which is, walking distance from my house, who is currently homeless, but is very smart. She won a prestigious scholarship. And that's how she found out about her. And so the scholarship people wanted to help her, but also she won the scholarship. So she's doing great. They didn't want to jeopardize what was going on. And so I immediately just responded, I'll take her, because now that I know, I couldn't, you can't unring a bell, so to speak, And my friend was like, no, that's not what I'm calling for. Like, I want your advice on how that they should handle it. I was like, well, the fact that you and the scholarship know she's homeless, she has to go to social services. She's got to be turned in because she's a minor and she needs the protections and the advocacy and the help. It's going to be a battle because she is 17, but in California, you can be in the foster care system till you're 21. And so what is spectacular about that is that you get all these amazing benefits until you're 21. So I don't know what the current money is that the kids get, but for every month you get a stipend for rent, for food, for whatever. They get legal aid until they're 21. They get medical care until they're 28, but they get all of these help until they're 21. Plus that also opens the door for scholarship programs for school and all the amazing things. So once I knew that she was, didn't have a home, I immediately said I'd take her, and I reached out to the original person who knew, and I said, 2 things: either you have to convince her to go into foster care, or you unfortunately have to turn her in because she is a minor, and legally anybody that knows a minor that's unhoused needs to turn them in. So just as a legal thing for yourself. Um, so she was like, I know, but she's 17. And I said, yeah. Well, I said, well, here's the deal. I'm a foster parent. I will take her in, like, no questions asked. When she's 18, she can decide if she wants to stay in the foster care system or leave it, but she'll have a safe place until that time. And she was turning to 18 in December, and this was now August. So it was only going to be 5-6 months. So it took her a little while. Actually, the call came in July. It took her a few weeks to come to terms with going into foster care. And then when she arrived at my house, and she's been here ever since. So she's now my forever kid. And she came in, she arrived literally on August 8th, and I left to swim around New York City at the end of August. And that is the beauty of this support team that all foster parents have. Jason and Mark, who, asked me to be certified for them to be a backup parent. It came full reverse because I was traveling and they were a backup parent for me to, for reason to stay with them when I was out of town. So the camaraderie within the foster care system with other parents is so great as well. Everybody's here to help each other out and knows it's a challenge, and it's different, and there's different emotions going on. Like with Reason, she was 17 and just got a scholarship, was like very independent, very self-sufficient. And to know that she can lean on somebody, it was hard for her to like open up, because she's opened up so many times just to get shut down. Yeah. And so so was abandoned a lot emotionally, not necessarily physically all the time, because her mom had passed away, which is how this whole thing started. But she has a half brother who was awesome, but he lived in North Carolina. So it's a lot of different things. But again, another serendipitous thing for me and for Reason is I think our moms were aligned up in heaven about this, because I don't have any children. I've always wanted to have children in some capacity. And when Reason came to my door, it was the morning of her mom's birthday. And then when I took her to North Carolina to see my family for Thanksgiving, her brother Freedom lives 15 minutes away. So he was able to come to my brother's house for Thanksgiving and be a part of their extended family in North Carolina. So it's just so serendipitous that it was just Reason was meant to be in my family, on every level. And from being in foster care, from coming from my care, that opened the avenues for so many opportunities. So I was getting $1,000 a month plus a little bit more to cover Reason while she was in the house. And when she went off to college, she got that $1,000. So she was able to not only get a scholarship for Chapman University, but then she was able to have subsidized money coming from the government as a foster care youth, which I don't think foster kids realize the support that they can get, especially when they turn 18. They think, I'm aged out, I'm 18, I can't be in the foster care system anymore. And a lot of states, California being among them, it is until 21. So you get these benefits to help you. And again, they help you with housing, they'll help you with schooling, they'll help you with scholarships, they'll help you get a job wherever that job is. If you want it to be a full-time barista, they'll help you with that. Like, it's the services that they have are great. So I think there's a lot of stigma around the foster care system and foster kids themselves. Like I get this comment all the time, like, I can't believe you're being a foster parent, especially to a teenager. You don't know what kind of kid you're going to get. And I'm like, girl, you don't even know what kind of kid you're going to get when you give birth to the child. So, every kid is, unique and different and fun all on their own. And the trauma that this kid has is not their fault. It's from the adults in their life that, mistreated them or mistreated a family member that resulted in this situation for them. So you shouldn't put your unemotional feelings or your projections like onto them, because it's definitely not their fault. And everybody needs love and everybody needs a second chance. So that's my opinion anyway. And you got to love these kids, and then you got to let them go too, because I had 2 infants, and you got to love them. And then when you give them up, you give them back. It tears at the heartstrings, but you just have to, that is your job, whether it's for 1 day, 1 month, 1 year, or 10 years. Until they go to their forever home. Your job is just to love them as much as you can, make them feel safe, keep talking to them, communicate with them so they can get out whatever emotions and feelings that they're having locked in from going through their trauma for what has gotten them there. so you can help them heal to become stronger people. And that is the beauty of the foster care system for those that do it, do it for the right reasons. I know there are issues with foster care for people that are in it for the wrong reasons, and I'm not supporting that. But most foster parents are in it for the right reasons, are in it for the love, are in it to grow their families, and are in it to help the kids. And a lot of people do start as a CASA advocate. So again, I would highly suggest starting that if you can't take in a kid yourself. Maybe your family is already too big, or you don't think you have the space for it. But being a big brother, big sister for once a month is everybody has time for that.
Yeah. Well, Rachel, I just love you so much, from your big heart to your determination, your drive, your athleticism, everything. I mean, your business savvy, your athleticism, everything you've accomplished. And you just are an inspiration just to, me, girls everywhere, boys too. Yeah. Just everything. It's just, yeah, you're incredible.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm very flattered. Thank you.
Yeah. And before I let you go, let me know. So what's next for you? Is there a new goal, a new bucket list item?
There is. It's a little further on the horizon. My sister-in-law, Amy, is on the other end of breast cancer, and she truly wants to be 7 years clear of breast cancer, and then have a proper celebration. And that celebration will be us climbing Kilimanjaro.
Awesome.
So that'll be 2029. So it's a little far out. I'll have to find some kind of thing to get me going in between the middle. But yeah, so that is going to be great. We'll fundraise for breast cancer for that hike as well. So we'll raise some more money and do some things. I'm psyched between all my triathlons and now with the English Channel swim, which I raised $100,000 for pancreatic cancer for English Channel. In total, I've raised, I think, nearly $250,000. Wow. So if we can do a goal of 50,000 for breast cancer or more, for Kilimanjaro, I think that would be huge. So that is my next goal. But if any of your listeners have another cool challenge for 2027, I am all ears.
All right, you got that, guys. Send some suggestions. Where can everybody follow you? And if they want to donate, tell us how they can track you and help donate to the causes.
Yeah, so I have a GoFundMe. It's called Channeling a Cure. And it's just GoFundMe/Channeling a Cure for donations to pancreatic cancer. And then Travel Griffin is my Instagram. And that's where all the fun things happen.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time. I just love you sharing your journey and your story with us. So I can't wait to watch what you do next.
Thank you so much for having me. This was fantastic.
All right. Thanks, everybody, for listening. We'll see you again here next time. You can follow us everywhere at Tom Grill TV and get out there.